The auditorium fell silent the moment Corin entered. Not the respectful silence that preceded Dr. Thain's lectures, but the kind of silence that preceded violence, tense, brittle, ready to shatter. Corin was used to it. His species, the Vrikathi, had earned their reputation across 17 star systems. 8 feet of corded muscle, obsidian claws that could rend durasteel, and a jaw structure that suggested evolution had designed them for one purpose: destruction. The Galactic Council had classified them as Category 5 hostile just 3 cycles ago, after the incident on Meridian Station, where a Vrikathi warband had carved through an entire security battalion in under 6 minutes. No one had bothered to ask why. They never did. The other students, a mixture of Selenari scholars with their crystalline thought cores, methodical Thain engineers, and even a cluster of the typically fearless Kasich, pressed themselves against the far walls. One of the Selenari's core pulsed a warning red. Somewhere in the back, someone activated a personal shield with an audible hum. Corin kept his head low, his movements deliberate and slow. He had learned that much in his short time among the softer species. Quick movements meant panic. Panic meant security. Security meant going back to the holding cells on Terminus 7, where they kept the monsters who dared to dream of something beyond blood and fire. He moved toward the front row, where empty seats clustered like refugees fleeing danger. Behind him, he heard the scrape of chairs as students relocated, putting as much distance between themselves and him as the lecture hall would allow, all except one seat. The one directly beside where Dr. Thain always stood during her lectures on xenological psychology and interspecies relations. The seats taken, someone hissed. A Thain, from the metallic resonance. The beast needs to sit in back. With the other animals, Corin's claws flexed involuntarily, scoring marks into his palms. The pain helped. It always helped. He opened his mouth to respond, to explain that he had registered for this course legitimately, that he had passed the entrance exams with marks that would have made any of them proud, that he had every right. That seat, came a voice like warm honey over steel, is exactly where it needs to be. Dr. Thain had entered without anyone noticing, a feat that would have been impossible for someone of Corin's size and presence. But humans had that way about them. The dangerous ones did anyway. They moved through space like water, like shadow, like inevitability. She was small by galactic standards, barely reaching Corin's chest even when he slouched. Her hair, steel gray despite her relatively young age by human standards, was pulled back in a practical bun. Her eyes, though, those eyes held something that made even Corin's war-bred instincts go quiet. They had seen things, done things, survived things. The Galactic Council didn't classify humans as Category 5 hostile. They classified them as Category 1 indeterminate, which every sentient species knew was infinitely more terrifying. Dr. Thain, the Thain protested. Surely you can't expect us to... To what? She set her data pad on the lectern with a soft click that somehow carried more weight than a plasma discharge. To sit in the same room as a registered student? To extend the same courtesy you expect for yourselves? Please do enlighten me. The silence returned, but different now. Chastened. Corin, Dr. Thain said, looking directly at him for the first time. Her eyes held no fear, no disgust, no wariness, just acknowledgement. Welcome. Please sit anywhere you're comfortable. He sat in the front row, in that empty seat beside her lectern, and felt something in his chest unclench for the first time since leaving his homeworld. The lecture began. Dr. Thain spoke about the psychology of fear, about how species processed threat assessment, about the evolutionary biology that hardwired certain responses into neural pathways. Her voice never wavered, never rushed. She moved through complex theories with the patience of someone who understood that knowledge was a garden, not a race. 4 hours. The course was 4 hours long, with only a 15-minute break at the midpoint. Around the 90-minute mark, Corin noticed the other students beginning to shift. The Selenari's cores dimmed as they entered power-saving mode. The Thain's auxiliary processors emitted soft whines of overtaxed circuits. Even the Kasich engineered for endurance showed signs of fatigue. But Corin sat motionless, his massive frame perfectly still, his attention locked on Dr. Thain's every word. He had read the assigned materials 3 times before class. He had prepared questions, cross-referenced with texts from the restricted archives, even dared to formulate hypotheses of his own. This was why he had come across half the galaxy. Not for war, not for conquest, for this, the simple, revolutionary act of learning. During the break, Dr. Thain approached him. The auditorium had mostly emptied, students fleeing to recalibrate their tired minds. "You're doing well," she said quietly. "I've reviewed your entrance exams. Top percentile in every category." Corin's claws flexed again, but this time not from pain or anger, from something uncomfortably close to hope. They told me Vrikati couldn't, that our brains were too primitive, too focused on aggression. They told humans we were too emotional to do complex mathematics. Dr. Thain replied with a slight smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, the smile of someone who had proven many people wrong and taken no joy in it. They told us we were too violent to be trusted with advanced technology, too unpredictable to join civilized society. She paused. They're very good at telling others what they cannot do, less good at listening when proven wrong. She placed a datapad on the desk beside him. Additional reading if you're interested. Some theorists who argued that aggression and intelligence aren't mutually exclusive, that perhaps species bred for war might have more complex psychological landscapes precisely because of that breeding. Corin stared at the device as if it might bite him. Why? Why what? Why help me? You don't fear me. Dr. Thain was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Fear is a response to the unknown, Corin. But you're not unknown to me. You're a student who sat through a 4-hour lecture without complaint, who asks intelligent questions, who clearly prepared beyond what was required." She met his eyes directly. "You know what I see when I look at you?" He shook his head, not trusting his voice. "I see someone willing to endure anything, even the hatred of everyone around him, just for the chance to learn. Just for the opportunity to sit beside someone who treats him like the person he is, not the monster they imagine." She smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. "That's not a beast. That's one of the bravest beings I've ever met." As the other students filtered back in for the second half of the lecture, Corin picked up the datapad with claws that could rend steel, and held it as gently as if it were made of starlight. They still called him a beast. But now, when he sat through Dr. Thain's lectures, 4 hours, 8 hours, however long they lasted, he no longer heard their whispers. He heard only her voice, patient and strong, teaching him that he could be more than what they feared. And perhaps that was the most human thing of all, seeing potential where others saw only threat, and having the courage to prove the galaxy wrong.